welcome back to Typecast Heroes, where we believe typology can save the world. I'm Amanda Fogelson.
And I'm Jessie Miller, and today we are going to continue this series of all of the cognitive functions as they present in all of the positions. So today we are focusing on the parent position and the function of introverted intuition. So that is for the ENFJs and the ENTJs.
As we say in the beginning of every video, anyone can be anything. And while we do absolutely stand by that statement, the series is actually going to be focused on the consistent behaviors that we see within ENTJs and the ENFJs who are using their introverted intuition in their parent function. However, the takeaway from this video, the way to really understand NI in the parent function, is to look at the motivation behind the behaviors that we are going to be discussing. So again, it's easy to understand these functions when we give examples and when we talk about real life situations, but the takeaway, the learning aspect of this is really to focus on the motivation.
So Amanda just said any type can be anything, but remember also too that you are on a type development journey.
Mm-hmm.
Types don't change, but types do evolve. And so if you don't relate to all of the things that we mentioned here, that doesn't mean that you're not an ENFJ or you're not an ENTJ. It just means that you may not have yet hit this in your journey, or you've already passed it in your past. So keep all of that in mind. So the parent function is the function that we have to balance us, because ENTJs and ENFJs, they lead with extroverted judging functions. So they're all about the action. They're all about doing things and controlling their environment in all of the ways. And we'll go into those in other videos. But the parent function is made to balance you because it's an introverted perceiving function. So the parent is where we get a lot of our should statements. Like, I should do this. I'm spending too time on this. I need to go do this. Or it's where we feel like we have to do this. We feel compelled. So if a ENTJ or ENFJ is just doing all of the action in the world, they have this kind of like tug, like, nope, we have to go introspect. We have to go see what our internal system is. So introverted intuition, which we've got videos on what is introverted intuition. Introverted intuition is when you are primarily concerned with thinking about abstract theories, zooming out and seeing like this really huge giant picture, working out a type of vision that you have for the world that you want to bring forth. So when you have this in your parent function, the parent function is going to be trying to make you have a tendency to want to parent others with this function. So an ENTJ or an ENFJ, when they're looking at somebody that they parent, or somebody that they are in control of, or somebody who's in their care, not in control of, but just somebody who's in their care, they have a tendency to lean on this function, this introverted intuitive function, because it's a projection of what's going on inside their mind. So they will encourage people to see the big picture. They encourage people to see the philosophical implications. They, like, so for their company, they'll be like, well, think about this 10 years down the road. Like, think about how this action would be now. Or for their child, like, think about the implications of this child of mine. Like, keep this in perspective. And that's one of the ways that they do that.
For a real life example, just as we said we would do, I'm an ENFP, my dad is an ENTJ. And so he would constantly, I tend to have these moments where I like dream really, really big, and it's something that the rest of the world would almost absolutely disagree with. For instance, like, getting a fashion degree, or going and living in an RV and traveling full time with my family of 5, or something crazy like that. And I'll have these ideas where, it doesn't seem super practical. And even though an I also isn't practical, what they'll do in the parent function is basically he would tell me, like, think about this, go deep, don't look at the surface, don't look at like what you're doing this year and like, okay, great, you're going to study fashion for this year. What does that look like for your career 10 years down the line? What does that look like? What does the debt look like for you 20 years from now? What does in the RV, if you want to travel, where are you gonna, all these different things to think about. And yes, they were practical and they were pulling me back into reality, which is maybe a little confusing because NI, as we keep saying, isn't practical, but it's because it's in the parent function, it is making you a little bit more responsible.
So something else about the parent function, one of the things that ENTJs and ENFJs need to look out for is you have a tendency to project your image, the parent function, onto people you admire or people who are a parent figure to you, people you look up to. So an ENTJ or an ENFJ may assume that the person that they admire is using introverted intuition. And I actually had this happen this week where somebody's friend recommended that they go and be typed by Typecast Hero, and the friend was certain that the person was an introverted intuitive, but that's because the person was an ENFJ and they have introverted intuitive parent, and they really admired the person that they recommended, and the person was not an NI user. So it doesn't always have to be a bad thing, but if you are making your decisions based on what somebody else says, and you're assuming that you're assuming they're looking at things the same way that you are projecting onto them, that can be really dangerous, because you could be assuming that they're looking at like the big picture, or they're considering the philosophical implications, and they may not be. And all of this happens in our unconscious, so it's not like you're looking at them and you're like, oh man, yes, that's NI, they're using NI. It's like you just feel like drawn to it, and you trust them in a way because you think that they're thinking the same way you are. So I encourage you to look at your relationships through that lens. If you are an ENTJ or ENFJ, who are you projecting NI onto? Sometimes you can get a hypercritical NI parent. This does sometimes happen later on in life for an ENTJ or ENFJ, because they're starting to like balance out a little bit. And if they've been all action, all of a sudden they can really come into that NI real strong. And for a hypercritical parent, that means that you are kind of being mean or like even aggressive to the people around you, because you're like, no, this is my vision. Like, let me give you my vision. Why are you not seeing this vision? And it can become really kind of obnoxious a little bit at times. If you are leaning too hard into your parent function, especially as an ENTJ or ENFJ, this warning is pertinent to you, because you are already doing so many actions, and both of your functions are like controlling the environment actions, and
this just slips right in there and like still tries to control the environment, but from like a very personal place, and you're attacking others' personal places.
And it can also make you think that your values are the only ones. Like your internal framework is the only one that matters. And that's dangerous of any introverted function. But in the parent function, it is particularly important that you pay attention and make sure that you aren't being super close-minded or super harsh or critical, because introversion and introspection are not natural to an ENFJ or ENTJ. That's something that they have to work on. And when they're introspecting, they may find that their NI parent has been overly aggressive. Particularly as they go throughout their life, because of the loops, right? They want to loop between their first function into the child, and the parent's function is to say, nope, we've got to be responsible now. Like, they are looping into their extroverted sensing, which is like very attached to the moment, and kind of like they're trying to be playful with this function. Go watch that SE child video. But the parent one is constantly like, no, remember the bigger picture, remember our thing. And society needs healthy ENFJs and ENTJs, because they offer so much to the world that they can be, they can really change things. Yeah. They can really like put forth amazing systems. But if they aren't checking against their introverted intuitive parent, or if their parent is overly involved, it can diminish their vision, and that's just no good for anyone involved. So
it makes the vision a little bit too narrow to be able to include others or other ideas that you're all of a sudden going to be missing, because you feel like you've almost found the secret to life, and you're just going to like focus on that and zoom in. Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like.
Good job.
Thank you so much.
And she came up with that by herself, guys.
All by myself.
Like, she has great ideas.
ENFP have a brain too.
She does. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Just a little bit of extra personal growth here. In the parent video, we will always say, don't skip it. Just don't avoid your parent function. No one likes a nagging parent function. We all know it's there. We can all feel that pull, that compulsion that Jessie was talking about. Every single type has this. Every type has a parent function. It's always the opposite attitude as your hero and your child, so it's not as fun to play with typically. And it's harder to listen to and to lean into, because more than likely going to take the fun out of something because your child likes to play, and in this case it's extroverted as well, so it's so easy to go into that SE and mix it with your TE or FE. But don't do it. Don't lean into that as much as you lean into that parent. When that parent is trying to pull you up and say, hey, let's focus on something else, let's focus on the depth here, or let's focus on the ideas here, that is where your, I was going to say your magic, and it's not magic, but that's where your
gift.
Yes, that's where your gift is. It's in that parent function. Don't let yourself skip over it just because it's more difficult to learn how to use it.
Because being human is hard.
And hopefully this makes it just a little bit easier.
Thank you for watching our channel.
Like, subscribe, comment, share. Also, if you have not watched our very first video, or if this is the first video of TCH that you're watching, then welcome. And also go watch our very first video, Welcome to Typecast Heroes, so you can learn all about who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, all the things. And also, if you are an ENTJ or an ENFJ and you're watching this video and you have not gone through the interview process, please leave a comment below or message us on Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, or Discord, and Jessica will get you set up.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Let's gather around the type fire and sing our type fire song. Our MBTITYPOLOGY song. And if you feel uncomfortable, then know there's nothing wrong.